Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, Tomcat Stitchery. I'm Whitney and I have a Sew the Look video for today. It has been a bit, I think, since I have done a Sew the Look, mostly because I went through and did like a Sew the Trends series back in the summer. I've done one so far this fall, and that kind of went together, and then yeah, things kind of wrapped up. But if you have followed along with the channel at all, you know that a few weeks ago now, mid-October, Love Notions had one of their big sales. They do 3 every year, and they had one of those, and so I had a whole bunch of Love Notions content, and one of those was pairing Love Notions patterns with Boden patterns, which Boden looks. So Boden is an online clothing retailer, and they're very classic aesthetic. It's a UK company, and they just pair really well, I think, to Love Notions patterns. So anyway, I thought it might be kind of fun to actually make up a couple of those, and one of those is right here. So we're trying out the mannequin. Let me know what you think. When I get into the details of what I did with the dress, I am going to take it off the mannequin so I can show it up close, some of the details, but this one doesn't have a ton of like details on it to show you. It's a pretty straightforward dress, but yeah. Let me know if this new setup, if you can see everything okay. It's really hard to get a full mannequin that's standing into a frame and also me who's sitting in a frame. The whole filming is just a very much learning curve. So all constructive criticism is very much welcome when it comes to the filming and that sort of thing. Okay, so I did 10 looks in that original video. I'll pop a link up here to that original video if you would like to go and see that. Let's see, when I was putting together those looks, I came across this dress, and I'll pop just her over this the one I've made here, and just immediately thought it looked so similar to a knit version of the Rhapsody blouse by Love Notions Patterns, which is a woven pattern, but immediately I'm like, oh my gosh, I think that'd be so easy to hack, and you could make it in a jersey because the Boden dress is a jersey dress. I will leave this dress link below if you're not interested in making it. It is still available on their website, and so I will link it down below if you want to go take a look. Boden has a fantastic, I'm not affiliated with them in any way. I like them. They're one of my favorite ready-to-wear companies. Anyway, it is a jersey dress and cotton jersey. I think theirs is also cotton jersey, but I knew that I wanted to use cotton jersey for my version. But it just looked so comfortable and looked like it would be perfect for the upcoming holidays. So here in the US, we're getting ready to celebrate our Thanksgiving, which is, it's at the end of November, so in a couple more weeks. And it really screamed Thanksgiving Day dress to me just because it looked comfortable. So you can indulge in that large meal and stay comfortable. For us, we do travel and we visit both my husband's side of the family and also my side of the family. It alternates who gets us on actual Thanksgiving Day, but I need a few different events and have outfits for a few different events. So that is kind of immediately what I thought this one. And I was able to find a very similar fabric, not identical, but a very similar fabric at Style Maker. And so actually right after that video went up, I really quickly went and bought 3 yards of that fabric because I didn't want it to, because I had highlighted fabrics in that original video as well, and I didn't want it to sell out. So I went and really quickly grabbed 3 yards of the fabric, and it's really great. Nice, beefy, medium weight cotton spandex jersey. It would be fantastic for t-shirts, dresses like I have made, pajamas it would be great for even. Yeah. Cotton spandex jersey is one of my, if I had to pick one knit fabric that I would use the most, it would probably be cotton spandex jersey. Viscose jersey, you know, a viscose spandex jersey has its place. I do really enjoy cotton modal, which is a blend with spandex. Actually, this t-shirt is that blend, and I really do like that for t-shirts as well. But I think cotton spandex, it just always comes back as my favorite, mostly because it comes in the widest range of, it's got prints, you've got solids, yeah, it's nice and beefy and holds its shape, yeah, which is typically what I am looking for, and that is what I wanted for this dress, in particularly because I wanted a more dramatic sleeve, a little bit just like the inspiration photo, and then obviously there's a gathered skirt on it, and I wanted it to look like a gathered skirt. Yeah, so went with the cotton spandex, and the print was almost spot on, and I think I really nailed it with this one. My parents were here visiting this weekend, and I wore it to church. In fact, when you're seeing the spins here in just a second, I was getting ready to go to church, and was showing my parents the difference, and they're like, oh my gosh, yes, that's, you know, you really nailed that one. That it really looks very similar. So yes, very pleased with how this ended. Now, is this the most flattering dress that I have ever made? Probably not, just because it's pretty shapeless. However, I do find that the Rhapsody, and I'll talk about what I did to the pattern here in a second, but the Rhapsody is nice and fitted through the bust, and then it flares obviously in a woven fabric. It is meant for a woven. So I thought that that would at least give me some fitting through the bust and shoulders, and then a nice loose sleeve, and then obviously the gathered skirt. It is so comfortable. I had it on all day yesterday. I'm kind of loving this dress. Okay, so let's talk about why I chose the pattern I did, and then we'll talk about the modifications I made to it, which are very few actually. So what struck me most about this dress in the Boden catalog was that the neckline. So it's kind of a neckline that comes around, and then it kind of scoops, and then it goes down into a V. Like, it's a very shaped neckline, and it's the same shape of the neckline as the Rhapsody. And that's really what grabbed me. I was like, oh my, that is the Rhapsody neckline. And then obviously the sleeve. The Rhapsody comes with like 872 variations, if not really, but there are a lot of sleeve variations that go along with the Rhapsody, and one of those is a bishop sleeve that goes in with elastic. Now, I love that sleeve and have made it, when I've made that pattern before, have made the 3/4 length bishop sleeve, but there's also a full length bishop sleeve. So the elastic hits you more like bracelet length as opposed to like 3/4 length. And that's what I wanted, because that was very similar to the dress, and we're getting ready to go into cold weather, and having a little bit longer sleeved sleeve sounded pretty good to me. And I'd also never made the long sleeve version before. So those are the things that really grabbed me. I thought, oh my gosh, I could very easily just grab that bodice and then just add a gathered skirt onto the bottom, and there's that dress. So that is exactly what I did. I did make a couple modifications though, and we're going to talk about them. So as you can see, and I'll show you this on my person here in just a second, but and hopefully you can kind of see from here, but it's just a gathered rectangles to this top part is all the Rhapsody. I did not do the bias binding that is on the Rhapsody. Rhapsody has you finishing off the neckline with bias binding. I actually just drafted a facing and interfaced it, because this can very easily go on over your head. Interfaced it, sewed it on, and then top stitched it. Again, I will show you those details up close here in just a second. And I think that it's perfect. So the dress and the Boden also has like a top stitched, looks like facing. The facing on it goes all the way down, like the center, to the seam line of where the skirt starts to connect. But I think that this is close enough, and I like the way it curves under, and it holds everything in place. This shirt actually is faced as well with an interfaced facing, even though it's a knit top, and I really like the way that looks when you can get things over your head without it needing to stretch. Obviously this takes away all chances of stretching in the neckline when you put interfacing and then top stitch things down. But if it's a nice wide neckline, I love that, and I really love that on this. I find that it wears well, washes well, and just holds its shape forever. So it is one time where I really do enjoy using facings. Normally I prefer a bias finish, neckband type situation, but I do really like a bias neckline treatment when it's a knit top or a woven top, when the facing has been top stitched around all the way around, top stitched all the way around as a design feature. I think that looks really, really nice. So that is what I did, changing the neckline. So the Rhapsody comes in a top version, or you can make a dress. So when you print off the pattern, there's actually a line for where to cut it off if you're going to be doing the dress version per a woven dress version per the pattern. I decided to go ahead and cut my top pattern off at that line. Going back, if I were making this dress again, I think I would go an inch above that. Now the skirt, the gathered skirt does hit at my natural waist, but I think an inch above my natural waist might be maybe a little bit more flattering. And more so just with proportion, as opposed to, you know, things hitting me in different spots. I think just proportion and having the bodice and then, you know, then the skirt. I'm fine with this. This doesn't really bother me, but if I were being picky and wanting to be a perfectionist, I think I would go an inch above that cut line for the dress. Also, this is knit, and so there is some vertical stretch, and when you put all that weight of the skirt on the bottom, it does weigh it down a little bit, and that could also be causing some of the issue. So if I were making this out of a woven, for instance, maybe it would be fine and hit me just like I wanted to, basically. I did the full-length bishop sleeve just per the pattern. Everything worked out fine. And then what I did, so I had 3 yards of the fabric, and I think it's 58-inch wide. It was nice wide knit fabric. But what I did is I cut out my bodice pieces and my neckline facings and my sleeve, and then, and really scrunch those in. This is a directional print, which, you know, could cause some issues, but I got them all cut out, and then I took the remaining fabric because I was trying to decide how long I wanted it, and I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna get as much length as I can out of it. And I knew I wanted to do 1 full width of the fabric on the front and 1 full width of the fabric on the back, just so I could do, when I do my gathered skirts, I do them on my serger, and I'll explain that here in a second, how I do that and why I do that. So I wanted a full width of fabric plus the length, obviously, for the front and the back, and they needed to be the same. So I just took the fabric that I had left over after I'd cut out all of my pieces for my bodice and sleeves, and then just cut that large rectangle in half. And I think I had 25 inches. So I think I had a little over 50 inches left of the length. Maybe a little bit more than that, now that I'm thinking about it. Now I feel like it was maybe I had, yeah, I just took the rest, I don't even know. I just took the rest of that yardage, folded it in half, cut it in half basically, so that I had 2 of the same length pieces and then the full width of the fabric. And then, so I constructed my, or I took my front and back, or sewed them at the shoulder seams, which is the same as the pattern. Then I took my facing pieces and sewed those together at the shoulder seams, and then sewed the facing onto the neckline, finished that all off, got it all top stitched. So my top was together at the shoulder seams, and that was it. It was not together at the side seams at all. Then I gathered a skirt panel onto the front bodice piece, and then I gathered a skirt panel onto the back bodice piece. Then I added my sleeves in on the flat. Then I sewed the side seams and the underarm seams of the sleeve in 1 fell swoop, added the elastic to my sleeves, at the bottom of my sleeves, hemmed my skirt, I was done. So the way that I gather, I just find it so much easier. I mean, you can buy the ruffling foots and all that kind of thing, but I have I guess it's a gathering foot, maybe it's a ruffling foot on my serger, and what it does is it just has a little piece. Well, I'll go get it. I'll go get it, and I'll take the dress off my dress form so you can see things up close. Hold on. Okay, so this is a gathering foot for my serger. You see this little piece that's like right here. So it goes on the serger, and I put my differential feed. The differential feed is what feeds your feed dogs. So it is how fast that is moving to move the bottom layer of fabric through. So I take mine all the way up to 2, which is the highest that my serger will go, which means that the bottom feed dogs are feeding that bottom layer through at twice the rate as what the top of the fabric's getting fed through. And to make sure that that stays the same, you put the fabric that's being gathered, so the long panels I was doing, it goes against the serger, right side up, and then my top goes down into this groove, and it kind of slides down, so it's the 2 layers are separated by this piece here, and then it gets sewn on flat. So essentially the feed dogs of the serger are pushing that lower layer together faster, and so it gathers it, and then it serges, and you get a beautiful finish. That's my favorite way. It takes a little bit of learning on how to do that, just to make sure that both layers are against the blade and the stitches as much as possible, because sometimes the top part can kind of creep away and then it's not getting caught in the stitching, and that's obviously does not work. So it does take a little bit of practice. And hold on, I'm turning her inside out here. But anyway, it just does a nice gathered, so it just gathered these rectangles right onto the bodice. Now the other thing is that usually I can't use pattern pieces that are meant to be gathered because different weights of fabric feed differently. So sometimes I can't go all the way up to 2. Sometimes I have to be at like a 1.8 or 1.5. So I just kind of play around with it. Because there's nothing worse than running out of that gathered fabric before you get to run out of the top fabric. You want more gathered fabric on the bottom because then you can cut off the rest, which is why I usually just do a whole width of fabric and then I just cut off the excess and I have some left over for some undie making. But yes, so that's what that looks like. And then I top stitched it to the bodice. So you can see there, I top stitched that seam allowance to the bodice and it makes everything lie nice and flat, and I love that. And again, I gathered it to the front, I gathered the other piece to the back, cut off my excess, and then I sewed up, you know, my side seams all the way up through my sleeves. Here is, I've got my little tag on there, so here's my facing that is all nice and top stitched down. I just made my facing 1 3/8 inches wide because there's 3/8 of an inch seam allowance at the neckline of this pattern, and I wanted my facing to be just 1 inch. So yeah, I just basically just traced around the original pattern 1 3/8 inches, you know, all the way around. So then, and then traced it off, and yeah, it worked perfectly. And let's see what else. Oh, I do gather, the pattern does have you gather the front shoulders into the back shoulders, and actually the back comes over to the front for like a front yoke. So there you do, the seam line at the shoulders does not sit right at the shoulder. It actually sits forward, and that's what it's supposed to do. And you're supposed to gather all the way across the front shoulder to make it fit the back shoulder, but I wanted my facing to be able to top stitch down, so I just gathered mine in between where I knew that facing was going to end and the edge of the shoulder. So all of my gathering is just kind of can push to the outside here, and I think that it looks just fine. And I think there's some gathering in the Boden dress as well, which is kind of nice. So yeah, so all the gathering is there. It gets a little bit lost in the fabric. And then the gathering for the sleeve comes just by, you make a casing at the bottom and 3/8 of an inch elastic gets put in there. And that's what does all the gathering at the bottom of the sleeve, which I really like because it makes it, you know, I can push up my sleeves really easily and it stays with that elastic there at the bottom. I find that to be a very nice finish. I did a 1-inch hem. And I didn't even use my cover stitch machine. I serged the bottom, pressed up 1 inch all the way around, and then just top stitched it down, just like I would a woven hem, because it doesn't need to stretch. I have a lot of volume in the skirt, and it doesn't need to stretch either. And I had my teal thread in my machine, and so it worked out really well. What else to say? Okay. I made a size medium top on this one. Normally when I'm making the Rhapsody in a woven fabric, I make the medium with the full bust front. But because this is knit and I wanted it to be a little more, a lot of times when you're making a woven pattern out of knit, you want to size down. Just because with knits, sometimes you want it can be a little bit closer fitting and then you don't have things bagging out. Instead of doing that, I made a medium just like I would. I just went with the standard front instead of the full bust front, and I think that worked really, really well. So then it gives me a nice fitted-ish in the bust, and then falls away from that. So there's no negative ease in this, but it fits me almost 1-to-1 at my bust, which is what I wanted. I wanted it to be a little bit, you know, loose fitting, which it is, under the bust, but I did want it to fit my bust well, and that worked out really, really well. Again, I cut it off at the spot where it has you cut off for the dress. I did shorten my sleeves by 1 inch. I don't know that I needed to though. I think I would have gotten much more of a blouson effect in the sleeve if I had left the length, but you know, it's fine. I usually push my sleeves up anyway, but I did want the long sleeve option on this, so you know. What else to say? I think that's it. I mean, it was a very simple sew. This came together much quicker than the regular Rhapsody, and yeah, I don't know, knits just, I mean, they shouldn't go together any faster. It was still the same steps, but I don't know, maybe it's the facing, being able to just stick that on there, which you could actually use this facing on the woven if you didn't want, you know, the Rhapsody does have these little ties that you can do, bias strips that come off that neckline and then dangle down, which would be, you know, I've actually never made one with that. I usually just omit that, but you could easily do a facing if you wanted the top stitching as a feature. If I didn't want any top stitching on there, I would stick with my bias binding. But yeah, I mean, it just makes it easier. It's just a quicker sew because you're not messing with the fiddlier bias binding. So just another option, another way to do the Rhapsody if you want. But I think this worked so well in knit fabrics, and I'm so excited about wearing it, probably, yeah, definitely when we're going through this Thanksgiving season here for pretty soon. Okay, guys, this is all that I've got for today for my Sew the Look. I hope you enjoyed it. But if you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, go ahead and do that. I have so many good videos coming up. I'm going to be doing a video. I've made a lot of knit dresses and different patterns for those knit dresses this fall and winter. Well, fall. We're not into winter yet. This fall. So I'm going to be highlighting my knit dresses that I've made. Some of them you've seen, some of them you've not seen yet. I've got a video going up on what I'm going to be wearing as my actual Thanksgiving dress, which is not this one. This one I'll be wearing over that holiday. But I've made myself a Rose Claire. In fact, you might be able to even see it right there by Cashmerette. Very excited about that. So yeah, knit dresses. I'm going to be showing my holiday dress. I've got a video that I want to do about patterns that you can make, like my top, it'll be like a top 10 patterns for the holidays, comfortable holiday outfits, and be highlighting that. I've got some of my fall sewing that I've done that I want to highlight and show you guys. I have some gift guide videos, and that one might get broken up into 2 separate videos. One like maybe for your own Christmas list, and then maybe a video. I haven't decided yet. I'm going to wait and see how long I think that's going to be. It might get divided into 2, or I may just do, you know, a whole thing on if you're buying for others and also things to put on your own gift list. But yeah, I'll be doing a gift guide that'll be coming up. What else? Oh, I want to do, I'm going to be doing a video on Black Friday shopping, and I'll be doing all of mine online, but the different sewing and, you know, relative to the channel type of places that are having big sales. If you're doing some holiday shopping, or if you want others to be doing holiday shopping for you. I just have a lot planned. Very excited about it. And yeah, I think most of that will kind of carry us through the year. I've not decided what sew along I'm going to be doing yet once the Mountain View jeans are over. I'm still playing around. I'll probably do, I think I might do a holiday, something like holiday appropriate, like end of year, New Year's, Christmas, whatever holiday you celebrate kind of at the end of the year, but kind of a comfy one. And the Ziggy is coming, don't worry. Style Lark Ziggy jacket will be coming here this winter. So yeah, that's kind of what we have planned. So if you haven't hit that subscribe button, make sure you do so you don't miss any of the fun stuff. I'm very excited about everything we've got planned video-wise going from now through to the end of the year. So yeah, make sure you hit that. All right, guys, that's all I've got for today. I hope you've enjoyed this one and you get some maybe a little sewing in on this Tuesday, and I will see you guys again on Friday. Have a good week. Bye.